What is going on out there, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot for Watchalong Wrestling. Hopefully everyone is doing well and staying safe. Today is the very first episode of our Tough Enough rewatch here on Watchalong Wrestling, where each week I'm going to be joined by my boy Steve, who's down in Orlando, Florida, and we are going to rewatch every episode of the first season of WWE Tough Enough, and we're going to watch along together, rediscovering this footage for the first time, while hopefully you guys are also watching along at home and have us on. And we'll provide you guys some historical context. We'll talk about some of the things as they're going on. And I'm really excited about this. How's it going today, Steve?
I'm doing well. I can't wait to do my first watch along with you. And this is, I think, a really special event. So I can't wait to get started on this.
Absolutely. Before we do get started, and Steve has joined us here on the channel a couple of times to talk about some of the live events that he's gone to in the past. Joined me for a WrestleMania 20 look back, which show that he went to. Way early on at the beginning of the channel, he and I did a little bit of the Survivor Series 2002 look back, another show that he went to live. And Steve's also been a part of a couple of different live vlogs. There's some vlogs there from when Steve joined me on my trip to WrestleMania 33 back in 2017, as well as my trip to NXT back right before things went completely crazy. Actually, the last time we saw each other, back in October of 2019. So, Steve, tell me a little bit about your wrestling fandom and when you feel like you were at your peak of being a big wrestling fan.
Yeah, sure. So it had to have started at a very young age. Definitely because both of my cousins are a little bit older than I am, and they got into wrestling first, and they kind of brought me into it because I was like, really good friends with them. So it's like one of those things where I wanted to be a part of whatever they were a part of. So wrestling was that they were huge on wrestling and everything. So I got really involved, but I first got involved when I lived in Virginia. And when I lived in Virginia, we didn't have cable or anything like that really. So it was hard for me to watch any sort of wrestling shows. Also being like 10 or 11 years old, it wasn't necessarily something that my mom was like loving about like me watching. So I had to like choose and like really kind of like hunt for it. And I remember that there was this one show that aired on like Saturday or Sunday mornings. It was like a WCW recap show. And so like I couldn't tell you the name or anything like that, but I just remember like finding it randomly once. And that was kind of my first actual like watching of wrestling was those WCW recap shows. And then I fell in love with it. And so like my first wrestling t-shirt was and I had two. I had the NWO, like the old classic one, and then I also had like a red Wolfpack one. So I was all in with NWO, and then of course started with the video games and stuff like that. And then when we moved to New York and we got cable and I was closer to my cousins, so I could go over to their house and watch pay-per-views and stuff like that. It was all downhill from there. So I would say starting around 2000, 2001 is when it just ramped up for me, and it was anything wrestling I could get my hands on.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think, we had talked last week where we did our introduction. You and I became friends really in 2002, 2003 area. And for me, I mean, this is at this point now, I'm starting to get a little older. So my parents are, my parents, I grew up watching wrestling my entire life. And I remember we got to a point, WrestleMania 12, where Roddy Piper rips off Goldust's clothes and he's wearing women's lingerie underneath. And my parents were mortified. My dad even called up Titan Sports and said, this is disgusting. We're here as a family watching this as family entertainment. Are you kidding me? How are you going to have this on here? I have a bunch of little kids here. A bunch of me and my little friends were all watching this. We're laughing hysterically. He's like, and he came down and he said, if you had started watching wrestling right now, no chance I'd ever let you watch it. He said, but I understand you're already a huge fan of this. So now as the Attitude Era, that starts, the kickoff to some of the more risque stuff. And then the Attitude Era just throws that into the stratosphere. And I remember him really saying, at the end of the day, I'm going to let you watch this, but but I hope you know that like you can't redo any of this stuff. So 2000, 2001, I'm just starting high school, and I start, every time there's any sort of anything going on, I'm in love with all of this stuff. WWE, MTV, I remember TRL was like, we always would try to go down to TRL and go stand outside. WWE New York is right. WWF New York rather is just right there down the street from where TRL was. So we tried to go there all the time we could. And so this really is, I'd say, probably like the middle of 2001. This is coming right off the heels of WrestleMania 17, that great match between Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock, and probably one of the top WrestleManias of all time. So probably my peak of my fandom. And then 2002 to 2003, it even goes even further. And I'd say those are probably my two favorite years. And when we start becoming friends and going to shows pretty often.
Yeah, and then like pretty often was like I can't even recount how many house shows and indie shows and like all of the different kinds of shows, all the different places that we would go to. Yeah, so absolutely.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Well, before we do get started, could you just tilt your thing just a little bit? I just want to make sure you're 100% on the screen, and I don't know. No, other way.
Like that?
Yeah. Perfect. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. So if you guys are watching along, what we're going to do, we're going to start this off here every single week. We're going to watch this. We're going to watch the show in real time, so hopefully you guys will be able to do that as well. Tough Enough actually starts June 21st, 2001. So I actually thought it would have been cool if we had done it exactly that way, but we're going to start here June 14th, 1 week early, and we do have a method to that, and you guys will figure out as we get all the way through the season. But we're going to go from now until Labor Day with our Tough Enough rewatch, and here we are now. We're going to get started, so we're going to try to count this down exactly so that we can start it exactly at the same second. I've got the remote going.
Okay.
I've got my old school WWE Triple H t-shirt on here. Screw the rules, play the game. I'll try to wear a different shirt each week that we record here and tell you which shirt I'm wearing. And hopefully you guys are ready to go at home. Steve, are you ready?
I am ready. Got my finger on the button and everything.
All right. So hopefully this doesn't just start here early. It is not. All right. Ready? And we'll count them down. And 5. If you guys are watching it, so just before we get started, I guess I should let you guys know we both have the commercial editions of the show. Commercial breaks on Peacock are about 30 minutes long. 30 minutes, that'd really be bad. You can give me that for free. 30 seconds long, not so bad. I have also YouTube TV, and those commercial breaks are literally about 2 minutes long each, and they're brutal.
Yeah,
but, 30 seconds long. They're not so bad. So we'll talk through those commercial breaks. Thankfully, we both have the same programs there. So if you are watching along on the version that's the commercial-free version of Peacock, which I think is like $9.99, just keep in mind that we do have little commercial breaks that are built in. And we'll let you guys know if each time a commercial break comes up in case you do want to pause, and then when we're coming out of that commercial break. So, but to start off here, we have all of our zeros all set. Hopefully you guys are ready to go. This is Tough Enough, Season 1, Episode 1, and we'll begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, wow. And so they're getting started here. 4,000 contestants. This is the casting special for Tough Enough. So most of the episodes here, I believe, are 30 minutes. This one is a full hour, but remember, it's full hour in this time is about 41 minutes all told.
So right away, it's interesting because that first little snippet had about 2 or 3 different spots of Chris Benoit.
Oh yeah. Well, that is something
I caught his blue, like the almost like tiger striped kind of pants already.
Yeah. I'm loving these little each one of the stars at the time kind of walking in and starting off with these intros. You've got Jericho, the Hardys, China, which I wasn't expecting at all. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Who was apparently women's champion at the time.
Yeah. This must have been right at the tail end of China's run with WWE. They must have recorded this early.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep.
There's Josh Lomberger, the Josh Matthews, who would go on and be in WWE for many years as an announcer. Look at these videos. My gosh.
It's great because I can imagine if we were to do something like this, it would be almost exactly the same kind of thing. Where it's like so over the top, so like,
Oh, yeah. And we probably think we're so great, too, like all of them do in these videos.
Yeah.
I'd obviously be like the guy who's in these bodybuilding videos.
Sure.
That's Champagne. First name Cham, last name Payne. He grew up with the Hardys. He's a good friend of the Hardy Boys, and is probably most known for taking a Triple H pedigree incredibly wrong on his head when Triple H was first getting started.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh, so there's a lot of like random people who've applied for this.
Yeah.
Injected into my veins here the footage of WWF New York. All of the contestants lined up right outside on Times Square, 6 a.m.
Yeah, has a lot of like American Idol vibes.
Yes, it does. It's so good. Wow. Yeah, and I remember these. Have you ever been? Did you ever go to WWF New York?
No, I didn't.
That
was a little bit before I was able to go.
Right. It was, but yeah, I went a lot of the different times, pretty much right when it opened in January of 2000. I went right there for the first time, the day of Royal Rumble 2000. Didn't go to watch the show, but went there to get lunch, and I love WWF New York. Now, of course, they're introducing all the judges here: Al Snow, Taz, Jacqueline, and then obviously some of the producers, Kevin Dunn, who's still there to this day, and John Big Gabork. And of course, it's interesting because Al Snow and Taz are two people who like really had to pay their dues before getting a start in WWE.
Yeah. Well, and even and Taz didn't last long in the ring at all because of mostly because of Kurt Angle.
That's right. That's right. He has his debut in 2000 and kind of screws that whole thing up there and never fully gets going in his WWF run. I think it's a very young Jonathan Coachman there as one of the. You think that is? So I think that's very young.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Wow.
Yeah. This guy, Chris, I don't know if he makes the show, but he looks somewhat familiar, so I think he might. Now, what's interesting here is they also have the MTV folks, because remember, this is a part of the WWE relationship with MTV.
Yeah.
They're doing all their shows like Real World and different things like that. He's being asked to drop his pants. When I had tried out for the Big Brother years later, the guy who was online before me at the audition was also asked to drop his pants. And I remember being so nervous they were going to ask me to do the same. But
well, it's because, they basically have to test how ready you are to do whatever you need to do kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they want to make sure you're entertaining on TV.
Yeah.
There's Nydia.
Yep.
I had a huge crush on Nydia here back in the day. Look at Michael Cole, this frosted tips. Oh my gosh.
If you didn't already know what time period we were working with.
Right, exactly. Mick Foley's there. They didn't even introduce Mick Foley. As if like he's just some J-Brown who's just randomly on the side of the street. Taz is having none of this. You can tell he hates this competition. The idea that someone can come from off the street and get a chance to be a wrestler when he worked years to do so is pissed off already. Oh my god.
Wow.
Jacqueline is ruthless. It calls Nydia out for her potbelly. This guy, I don't know if he makes the show, but he goes on to have a career. This is a guy, Greg. He wrestled many years for CZW. I think he must make the show. The guy looks like he's a quintessential wrestler pulled out of 2001.
Yeah, like the exact archetype of what Vince would be looking for.
Absolutely. I love that there's just random people all around just watching the show. Like, I don't know if they were just there randomly to eat lunch or what the deal is.
I feel like they got to be, right? Like,
yeah. Like they were just like there and told, oh, look, you're getting this. And that's, you get that sometimes. You get like some different things set up. Oh, you have the people who are clearly being brought in here to just be made a fool of. Like they knew this guy was going to be someone they should bring in.
Yeah.
And test him out on the endurance drills to see how he does.
Well, that's always like, in any of the casting specials for any of the competition shows that you watch nowadays, like there's always some of those that they kind of have to throw in.
Yeah. Yeah, they clearly are trying to build up some of these kids here, as Al's talking about it right now, that anybody would watch this show and be like, oh, I think I could be a wrestler. Of course, I could walk out and be draped in pyro and cool costumes and.
Right. Yeah, that's all it is, right? It's just the cool costumes and the posing, and
Yeah, all these people that are incredibly out of shape. This guy is a sandwich away from 600, and they have him in there jumping rope.
Well, I mean, I feel like also, you'd look at guys like, Vader and Bam Bam Bigelow and, like Viscera and those kinds of guys, and like, oh, well, if he can do it, I can do it.
Yeah. Somebody just lost their weave while doing the jump rope. She went on to do some stuff as well. I believe
she looks a little familiar.
Yeah, 6'3". That is if they took the cameras to the ladies' college to get some B-roll footage, like she's not just the one and done here.
Yeah.
Now the guy there, Ken, next to Al Snow, is from MTV's casting, because the deal was MTV needed to approve these people as well, because they wanted to make sure they were cool and good-looking young folks.
And MTV marketable kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. This kid can talk. That's crazy. He's 5'9", which isn't that teeny tiny. Every time I thought of Taz, I always thought he was like 5'1".
No, he's not Rey Mysterio.
Right. That's true. I think the problem was that in ECW he was built up as like a total badass, and then he comes to see and everyone's bigger than him. Now here's Josh, who I remember being my favorite. He's an independent he was an independent wrestler. He started as a backyard wrestler. So he loves, he's pretty much every kid who's a backyarder who just wants this opportunity. I believe Josh is the Vader of his parents, so he's making the show.
Right.
Not gonna go waste their time talking to. You can tell his mom is shitting bricks. She does not want him a part of this at all.
Right.
Oh wow! What a horrible. He's asked if he's worried about getting in the ring with Al Snow and Taz. He says, "I don't think so." Oh wow!
But the thing, this is kind of also one of those things where at the same time, I feel like they also had to choose personalities.
Yep.
Who would do that? Where like Taz is going, like from watching him on TV, Taz isn't going to pull any punches either verbally or physically.
Yeah. Those indie shows we went to, there was about 15 Josh Lumbergers on that show.
Yeah.
Like kids looked exactly like him, who would get up and do like a 900 splash onto the concrete and not care. We did just hit a commercial here. Looks like the commercial break here is about 45 seconds. But yeah, I remember those kids who they would be like your ticket sellery type wrestlers who would have to sell like 100 tickets to get on the show, and then to get up there and just like kill themselves in order to do it.
Well, and I wonder how many of the people that they actually interviewed and brought on and everything had that kind of like quasi experience where it's like at least they have been in the ring before, compared to like completely straight up newbies, have never stepped foot in a ring, don't know what it's about and everything like that. So I feel like it's the kind of thing where if you watch like American Idol or something, you have those people that are like kind of trained at least, and they have a little bit more background compared to the people where it's like, yeah, I sing in the shower and I think I'm good.
Right, exactly.
Whereas like we were somewhere in the middle where it's like we messed around in the basement and like that was about it.
Right, exactly. And now they're back here as like a young lady's getting into the ring, Victoria. I love the footage of all the folks sitting in the back and waiting there. Her video, what from this video did they think was like, oh, this looks great, let's bring her in?
Right.
Oh wow! So she said when I guess she used to keep bottle caps in her swimsuits to cut the girls with.
Yeah, and I mean, like, yeah. So she said she has a background in stunts and stuff like that. Like that is something that you need.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you need to know how to fall. Of course, if you ask JR, you can't learn how to fall off a 15-foot ladder. But
you can't do it. Absolutely not. It's crazy here. This girl looks completely like timid, but you can tell she's got the great personality for this show. And of course, the sign of the times here. She's talking about the importance of putting toilet paper in her bra, and having, I guess, that look that WWE wanted at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, Taz is just ruthless. But she, you can tell he likes her. He's really good promo from her. Oh wow, yeah, and he's physically she's terrible. So I don't know if she makes the show here.
Well, and this is also, before like women wrestlers were really became like respected and actually like, became a little bit more into the mainstream. They were still divas. They were still, like more of the eye candy than actual wrestlers at this point.
Yeah, and I think one of the reasons for that is because WWE really had China, and that was really all they built the entire division around at the time.
Yeah.
Here's Mick here. They finally I can't believe that Mick was just like a random extra here on there. But Mick already back in 2001 is already retired, and asking him about like, do you want to be a role model for your community and such? But yeah, I mean, what you're saying, I mean, I think the next year is when Fit Finlay kind of takes over the women's division, and he trains all the women like Trish Stratus and Victoria, who might have came in originally to be that quintessential diva, but he started to train them on, becoming great in the ring, and Trish Stratus by the end of 2002 is having great matches, as is Victoria. Jazz is brought in, and
Lita,
right? Yeah, good call. Yeah. That looks so incredibly easy, but I'm sure is unbelievably hard. The guy's losing his pants doing it.
Yeah, the bag test. Yeah, I feel like that's also like that's one of those things where nowadays it might be a little bit more popular because of like CrossFit and like the way that gyms are set up. Like we could probably do it a little bit more now.
Yeah. There's this guy here. He is he's another one. He's making the show. I mean, they're doing an entire.
Or it's going to be one of those like they build it up so much and then heartbreak where it's like you are not making the cut.
Yeah. They had.
I also love the XFL football on the little desk there.
Great shout there. Yeah. Wow. Talk about sign of the times. Did you ever watch the XFL back in the day?
Yeah. I remember watching a couple of games.
Yeah, I think I thoroughly enjoyed it when it first started, and then I just forgot about it. And I think that's probably what happened to a lot of people. They had crazy ratings the first week, but then like it just went right down the tubes within like it had like the greatest drop in the history of television from week 1 to week 2.
I'm sure.
Now she has
them written on the wrist.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
No. That is definitely not good. Al couldn't be more disgusted. Awful. She's 26. I wonder what the cutoff was for this. Oh, terrible. Wow, these girls are 18, so I guess it was probably 18 and over to get on the show.
Oh yeah, it had to be.
Yeah. Had to be. Oh, I remember because I remember being like, wow, the minute I turned 18, I'm trying out for Tough Enough. And then, of course, I turned 18, and they stopped doing Tough Enough for several years. This guy looks like he's like 40. Well, I know that they cut it off after a certain age because there's the famous scene years later where the Boogeyman tries out, and he is 40, and he lies about his age and gets kicked off the show.
Yeah.
Here comes Maven, who obviously everyone knows on this channel I'm a huge fan of, always have been. Look at this guy. Charisma out the ass. It's just winked over at Jackie. He's trying to take his shot immediately. Just thinking, hey, if I don't make it, I may as well try to see if I can get with Miss Jackie over there. Oh, this guy, he comes in and knows exactly what he has to say right off the bat in order to.
Yeah, and you know, it's also kind of like if you know how to play the game, you know, that's another part of it.
Yeah, for sure. That is that again. That guy with the workout equipment there is that guy Champagne. I can't believe the guy, for years he was part of the Hardy Show with Matt and Jeff Hardy, and it's crazy that he had that connection and was an indie wrestler for many years and couldn't get in. Yeah, she's from Australia here. I love the WrestleMania 17 poster there behind her. The shot is set up
Rock
so
vs. Stone Cold.
Yeah. A little long in the tooth. The girl's
tooth. Oh, wow. It's a horrible.
I mean, God. But, I mean, remember, MTV is thinking about your early 20s.
Yeah.
Like, this girl's probably making the show.
Right. Yeah. This is, if Tough Enough doesn't work out, she has a spot on Real World. She has a spot on Road Rules.
Yep. Yeah.
Which, I mean, was the reverse of what happened to The Miz.
Right. He had to work really hard to get back into Tough Enough after being on the Real World for a little while.
Yeah.
You can tell this woman has no interest in being a wrestler, though. Right. She's even talking about it. Always wants to be a part of Playboy.
Right. It's like, well, funny you say that, because.
Yeah.
Was this before anybody had done Playboy, or?
Sable did the first two.
Right.
And then she left WWE in 1999 as we had another commercial break. This one, 30 seconds. She did 1998 and 1999. And then right as she left 99 was when that second one came out. And they didn't have anyone do Playboy until China did it. And I think that definitely was like 2000, because that's when she's doing it with, she's in the storyline with Eddie Guerrero. Yeah. Playboy Mansion. So Playboy and the WWE is a major piece of their, that's really what, I mean, think about it. There was a couple of WrestleManias where the Playboy piece of this was really, they would show that quite a bit. They would show, that would be.
Never happen nowadays. Never happen.
No, they used to literally, for the divas, it would be, you'd have your swimsuit competitions. You'd have your DVDs that were just like photo shoots of these women.
Yeah, like the lingerie contest, like the fashion show, like all of that.
But yeah, the woman who would be featured at WrestleMania would be whoever was in the Playboy match. I remember who was on the Playboy cover. Ashley Mazzaro was there once. Christy Hemme was.
Mm-hmm.
They just showed that guy Daryl, who I know makes the show. He's one of the ones I remember from the series there. This is it's got to be tough because there's so few people in the arena, so they're trying to play to crowds, but there's no one in there at WWF New York. And clearly, what they've done here is just take all of the. I said I want to get him in the ring and break him, but they've clearly taken.
I would too. I mean, after hearing that.
It's terrible. Yeah, it is. They. Oh my gosh.
I mean, I guess, to play what you know, right?
I guess so, yeah. I'm sure he is a custodian in real life. I wonder if this was what gave me the idea for Dan the Stop and Shop Man back then. This guy's Jonathan Coachman looks 20. He looks teeny tiny over there. Wow, 18 years old.
Yeah.
Now this guy looks like he was probably an indie worker, Michael. You could just tell they have that, like, I think it was just, that's how half the people at the shows we used to go to looked. Either like
Right.
Sid or like the other guy there who would be maybe a little overweight, wearing your gym shorts,
Yeah.
the long hair, the goatee.
Or like the like really shiny pants, like.
Oh my god. It has to be tough. Like, these guys are trying their best, and the judges are just laughing at them. They've been there for however many hours. And this show, they clearly, what their plan was they had to have like your total hard ass out there.
Yeah.
Have Taz, who's like your Simon Cowell judge, and,
Right.
and then eventually, this years later, becomes Bob Holly, who just like beats the crap out of every one of the contestants. He's howling. I thought they had Tori a part of this too. The first season.
I think she comes on later. I think.
Yeah.
Maybe she's not one of the judges per se.
Yeah, because I think she ends up getting hurt doing this, and that's what ends her in-ring career. Yeah, he is. What? Yeah, Taz is getting very unhappy that people are complaining about how long they've been staying inside.
Right.
Because,
It's like, imagine doing that, but like for 13 years, dude. Like, come on now. Like,
look how pissed off all these people look. Like, I mean, I'd be thrilled to be hanging out in that room. That. Oh, there. Oh. Oh yeah, Taz wearing a Hitman shirt, which is a
yeah, exactly, yeah. But like, to be fair, if I was in his position, I would be just as pissed too, because, like, come on, like, how can you complain about a once in a lifetime opportunity like this? Like, if you really want it that badly, you're not gonna be like, oh, I can't believe how long they're making us wait.
Yeah. Oh wow, they kicked some. He just got in there and kicked someone out who had been sleeping. I love the guy who looks like he's like coming right out of the band Slayer with the big long beard and the bald head. Yeah, yeah, he's not having any of it, and it makes a certain degree of sense.
Yeah. And I mean, you got to wonder, like, how much of this was him actually saying this, and how much of it was like him, like, I have to throw it up for the camera.
Yeah, and as we hit another commercial break here, I remember, years. I think they definitely do that. I think they definitely were like, hey, Taz, we just heard these kids are down there sleeping. You want to go down there and like wreck some ass down there and look like the total hard ass? Makes a certain degree of sense, for them to do that. But
or just like him just saying, you know what, like, if like the fact that he heard that somebody else was complaining and he was like, oh no, I'm going down there.
Yeah, let me get down there. Let me go down. Because it is. I mean, you'd see that American Idol. They do this in several different cities, and they'd go there, and there'd be like thousands and thousands of people waiting there all day in order to get their opportunity to try out for the shows, and everything to that extent. But what's interesting is that I love the idea that they, because 2001 is the first season, I think, of the XFL, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's 2002.
Yeah, I think it is. That's why they're hyping it up so much.
Right. I love the shot of Times Square there with feeding mankind since 1989. Yeah. Taylor is the wife of the Brian Kendrick. She would go on and I believe they got married in 2008, and she's been a big trainer at his school, which has trained many wrestlers around the world. I don't know if she makes it this season. She makes it one of the years, I think. I don't know where he found her, but she looks like your typical girl next door. Ah, there's
There it is.
Chris Nowitzki
wearing the Harvard football trunks, like everything. Like,
so what's interesting, I know that he did train before he did this. I mean, the guy looks like in the competition now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, trains with Killer Kowalski. Like, come on.
Yeah, I think he trained for a couple of months with him, and obviously Killer Kowalski's trained Triple H, he's trained China.
Oh, good. Oh, God.
No one almost made me.
Was that a character, or was that actual? Was that real?
I know. That period of time, you'd have somebody on every indie show who would try to look like The Rock.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Al Snow probably extends his WWE career 5 years by being the judge on Tough Enough.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right? Like.
Yep. Oh, so they cut down the top 230 people to 25 people the next day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they've picked like their 30 people or so that they're going to profile and follow along. So you're right, not all these people can make the show.
Right.
And you can tell MTV's as big a part of this as they are. They have this guy here to make sure that everybody looks the part.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of smart also from the former WWF, WWE perspective. Like, you need guys that are gonna be marketable too. Like, that is part of being a wrestler.
Absolutely, yeah. No, they want the good looking. You want good looking people too.
Yeah.
And so Daryl gets in here at the end here of the 25. Oh, and so wow, look how many people were there. Jeez. So they're coming in here. Bobby Joe, of course, made it.
They got to like sneak them in the back door so that, you know, the crowd doesn't.
Jackie Gata was just shown there. She is the next Tough Enough in 2000.
Yeah.
And so here they are. Here they're hugging some folks. Here's my daughter's woken up here and coming to the area. No, drop here, Steve. No, we're
okay.
We're good. We're back now. So we're doing there's live TV, folks. We're doing live TV.
Anything can happen.
Anything could happen here when you're doing live TV here at Watchalong Wrestling. Greg makes it, of course, as you thought he would. Wasn't expecting a Dakota on the spot cameo, but yet here we are. Some of the folks here are crying, and the casting director is trying to make it so that
the Australian girl.
I know, I like the Australian girl. You figured she'd make it. The one who's your quintessential 6'3".
Yeah, the next China.
Yeah, there goes the guy who looks like he's your CrossFit athlete.
Right.
Now, I don't think they 25 make it much further. I'm really surprised they go with Tara because Al Snow said she looked physically horrible. But I guess when she had a good personality, that's a big part of it.
But I mean, the thing is, like, that is something that you can work on. Like,
right. One of the interesting pieces of it is that they make mention. I do know. I didn't know Jackie made the down to the 25 here in the first season. It's very interesting. I didn't realize also. I know that a couple of the other names that have apparently applied for the first Tough Enough, who I didn't see yet, but Justin Roberts supposedly did. Apparently his video's in one of the first ones.
He was one of the first ones, and then there's like a little clip of him in the ring too, like when they're interviewing him.
Really?
Yeah.
And they did a piece of it where they end up. I mean, he's obviously was a huge fan, and the guy would go on to become their major announcer for a number of years.
Yeah.
And then they've got, excuse me, you need to give me that control. You need to give me the control. Hopefully, yeah. As we've got All right, thank you. My wife just handed me back the video there of the thing. Oh, Dakota, gotcha. So they're doing their final interviews. Jessica is the former ODB. She'd go on to be ODB here in TNA. Crazy seeing her outside of that whole character. If you've ever seen ODB, your muscle head character type, piece of it. Which makes sense. This is now, you've made it. They want to make sure they have the right personalities here.
This is the MTV interviews. This is like, this is basically your real world interview here.
Yeah, exactly. And so I guess this entire episode really is, as they're narrowing this down and we're hitting probably about the final 5 minutes of the show here, is really, they're going to let you know who's going to be the cast that we're going to follow along here for the entire season and kind of go from there.
Yeah.
They asked Josh what he does in his free time, and he said masturbation.
I mean, at the beginning, Kevin Dunn says, hey, when you get in there, just be yourself, right? So you got to be honest, I guess.
Yeah, and they're going to take the 13. They're going to make 13 contestants overall. Kevin Dunn, unapologetically sitting there drinking a beer. Yeah, they like Chris a lot, obviously. The guy's a natural heel, former football player. Maven, too, looking like $1 million. And so these guys, in looking at them, they all look the part. And then they throw a couple in there, too, just to have it like, oh, let's see what would happen if we put in the random person who doesn't give a crap or the random person who's out of shape.
Well, I mean, like you kind of have to have that as, one of these producer people. Like you kind of have to have that.
Yeah, exactly. And so Daniel, I liked Daniel earlier, but it looks like they're going to go with either Josh or Daniel, so I do think they end up going with obviously Josh. It's interesting that Josh goes on to become an announcer for them, and I don't think his personality is his strong suit. I think his in-ring and his love of pro wrestling is also is his strong suit. So it's interesting that he never really got an opportunity as a wrestler itself.
I guess. Well, I mean, like they were kind of talking about, like they're only 5'9", so like you have to be very special if you're a 5'9" guy. And
exactly.
Not that he's not special, but like you have to be up definitely like next level.
Yeah. They one of the things I didn't realize there, Nydia revealed that before becoming doing this, she was an exotic dancer.
Yeah.
Not now. Yeah, so they have your guys who are like your big folks here. As we're getting to another commercial break here. This one about looks like a full minute there. But one of the things that I like about the entire process is that you're seeing there's literally like WWF New York was the place they were doing it. So everyone had to come in and be at WWF New York. And, I think that one of the things American Idol does, and I think they probably do it differently in the other seasons, is they have different areas set up that people can go to. So you wouldn't necessarily, like, everyone who's coming here at a minimum is at least passionate about the opportunity. They may not love wrestling, may not be huge wrestling fans, but to be able to come all the way to New York from all over the United States, from Australia, from around the world, you have to have a certain degree of excitement over it and a certain degree of kind of what you're doing in terms of all these pieces here. So.
Right. Well, I mean, and to that point, that makes sense why the woman from Australia was so broken up about it, because she had to fly all the way, 22 hours to get there.
Could have at least given her the 25th. Oh, great spot. Great shots here of all the New York, folks here and all the little areas. I think there was Bryant Park, and also
making me a little bit nostalgic about New York in general, just a little bit.
Right. Well, you've been out of New York now since, was it 2013?
Yeah.
Yeah, long time, 8 years. I think that I forget that because we've still been able to see each other each year for the most part, and to think that like we're both at different sides of. You're in Florida, I'm in New York. We're able to get together and watch a show in real time and broadcast it out to everyone. It's crazy what technology has done at this point.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and now you've got. So this is it. They're about to announce the top 13 contestants here who have made it to this next round, and here we go. Josh is a teeny tiny man next to Paulina, and
well, yeah, I mean anybody would be standing next to somebody that's 6'3".
Yeah.
As somebody that is sub 6 foot myself, I feel his pain.
Well, I will say being 6'4" is not all it's cracked up to be. A lot of uncomfortable. You've got a lot more of yourself you've got to maintain comfortability with, and here we go. So as we wrap down the show here, I still had no idea that Jackie Gata was on Tough Enough 1, and obviously did not make the show because she's a major part of Tough Enough 2. All right, here we go. So they're going to announce here the top 13 contestants. I will say, within the span of 1 hour, they've gotten you to know pretty much most of the people that are your top 25.
Yeah.
Wow, look at young Stephanie maybe 21 years old here. I mean, look at it. Wow. Of course, everybody, acting as if, Stone Cold just walked into the room.
I mean, at the point, she's also very, very popular. Like, this is the McMahon-Helmsley era, so.
Yeah, you're 100% right. She's very much involved, and Stephanie, a former women's champion at this point, too, so she'd been in the room.
That's true, yeah.
They're all super excited to see her, too. Look at them all. All right, here we go. Being so superstitious, it's driving me crazy for her to say the lucky 13. There you go, Josh. Josh coming.
Josh, the first person announced.
Yeah, looking a little cocky.
And he's shocked.
A little big for his britches. He thinks he's got it in the bag. This kid thinks 100% he's winning this competition.
Yeah.
Big Jason, of course, your CrossFit type athlete. Victoria, who I didn't see much in when she first came, but pie in my face. Maven, of course. Taylor, so she's a big presence here.
Yeah. Chris, of course.
Shadrick, okay. The girl who just told everyone she was more interested in Playboy does make it.
Of course. Well, because at least that's a storyline too. Like that's something that you can follow.
Yeah. Nydia too, who they've already said, hey, you still got a pot belly, you've got to get that in shape, but here's your opportunity. Wow, this guy makes it. Don't remember him at all.
Well, I feel like it. I mean, and you look at them all on the stage; it's a very diverse group.
Yeah.
So I think that was also something that they were going for. Even though you have your 2 or 3 hosses, you still have a diverse group there.
Absolutely. Poor Greg. I liked Greg. I wanted to see. He seemed really passionate about it too. And I like that Tara didn't make it either. I like Tara. I wanted to see her get a shot, but
I think, like you said, she was kind of a little bit too much girl next door for them.
As they get the shots of the store, and right there, front and center, is the "If They Only Knew," the Joni Lauer autobiography, right there in the window.
Yeah.
It's just so interesting to see Stephanie McMahon acting like
a normal person.
Now she's such a big part of owner of WWE and a big part of that team that now I feel like everything she says is so like this is everything, and she's so like 100% perfect in everything that she says, and so it's cool to see her put her hair down there. They're on another commercial break. I do think they come back here for a few more minutes. But Steve, I guess what are your takeaways here after watching the first episode thus far?
I think it was a great blend of both nostalgia for the times, going and looking at something 20 years old, and also like all of those, like we said, the signs of the times and like the the XFL stuff, the WWF New York itself, all that stuff. But also like I just think it was really cool to take a look back at that and see all of the names of like a couple of those names that we do know nowadays that actually, we know who went on and stuff.
Yeah.
But still seeing them, broad-eyed and bushy-tailed and all that.
Yeah. And now they're showing some folks here leaving the area and getting ready to go a week later. But yeah, I completely agree. I mean, seeing that WWF New York stuff for me, I'll never forget, going there and doing the, I'll throw a picture up on our, on the Watchalong Tommy. It looks like Nydia was getting a kiss on the mouth from Pops. Oh, that's Stamford, Connecticut, which, holds a place in
Yeah, of course.
But, so they're showing everyone where the house is right now, this huge mansion that they'll all be living in. But one of the things that's interesting to me is that WWF New York. I have footage of me going in there for the first time and doing like the hands, putting my hands up on an Andre the Giant plaque. Going there after I graduated middle school and my family being like, we're going to WWF New York. And every birthday was at WWF New York. And most of the time they'd show the same clips over and over. But they end up going over there. Oh, Tom looks like. Oh, they dropped. Tom dropped out. Which you can tell.
I mean, but I don't think I don't think he would have been missed. Fortunately.
No. Yeah, the guy clearly didn't care about too much and everything else. That's right. But then the garbage. Good job. Then second thoughts. Well, the guy clearly was more impressed with himself and didn't seem too much more into. They brought in Greg after all.
Right. I was like, I was like, I thought he was in it. Like, yeah. I remember him being a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense now.
Yeah. No, definitely. As chaos ensues here, pun intended, as we wrap things up. And now they go in there to see this huge house, which is, of course, a big part, I'm sure, of going there and seeing all the different pieces and this beautiful area that all these folks will be living in while they're doing this part. And I do love that it's, Al Snow during this time period would always try to explain that, hey, yeah, they lived in this beautiful house, but at the same time, they really did bust their ass and try to do all these different pieces and really loved all of it.
We have to find this house now on like Airbnb or something. Like if it's still a house, like maybe you can stay there or something.
Yeah, I wonder. It must be right. You'd think if somebody offered it, if somebody owned it, you'd think that's what they do and promote it as, you could say it like
stay in the Tough Enough house.
Yeah, person who owns one of the final blockbusters, you could do that. You can go on Airbnb and get that part of it. I love that one of the folks just randomly wearing a Kurt Angle shirt.
Yeah, of course.
The official It's True shirt. Makes sense, too, that why all these folks are so young. This is almost like, I mean, yes, it's a beautiful house, but it's almost like your fraternity house, your...
Yeah. You gotta, it's going to have that kind of energy.
Yeah. And they have everyone is really a nice hot tub there. The WWE going all out for this house. Thank you.
Yeah, spare no expense.
Yeah. And I remember this kind of is the end of the show here. And as Big warns, they have no idea how tough this is going to be. And we come to a close here on the first episode. So thank you so much, Steve, for joining me here today. It looks like the next episode is only 22 minutes, so a little shorter next week. But looking forward to getting on here with you and watching episode 2.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Well, thank you guys so much for checking us out here on Watchalong Wrestling. If you remember anything from the first episode of Tough Enough, make sure you let us know in the comment section below. Or you can find me over on Twitter at WatchalongTommy. Steve, let the folks know how they can get in touch with you.
I am. Oh wow, what's my Twitter handle now? I think it's still Steve CJ556, and of course we also have our Disney channel that hopefully that we can get up and get more content on soon as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Trying to bring everything back here to kick off a fun summer, and that'll be over at Disney 101 if you guys want to see us do some Disney stuff. But thanks so much for joining us here today. And I will see you guys, and we will see you guys again right here, same time next week for Tough Enough Season 1, Episode 2.
Where are you going to sit? Yeah.